Hello, this is a review of what I think is the best CCTV software. Self-information, remote access for some of the software can be quite complicated, a couple of performance tips, requirements, and if you should get one of the free CCTV bits of software. Just a quick overview, I've tested about 10 different ones on Windows. I've got some Reolink CCTV cameras that basically are this ONVIF 2.1 compatible. It's like a standard sort of communication protocol they use to speak to cameras. So everything I've used, I've been using with the Reolink stuff just to test it. This is just my view, what I like and need. I'm not getting paid by anyone to review this software or the products, and I'm not got any monetization turned on. So if you get any adverts, not my fault. So basically it's two sections, probably about 15 minutes each. First section is basically the setup, performance, remote access, connecting to an external IP address. Pretty important. It's not as easy as you think, but really easy to set up. And a review of my top 3 bits of software, and NVR, which is basically the physical recorder rather than the software on the PC, and why you should use that rather than PC software. So these are the ones I'm going to review. These are the ones that I've basically installed out of the 10 or so I've basically worked with and actually liked. So the Zenima, the Sighthound, and the Blue Iris. Different prices for each of them. Obviously, them two are around about the same. The Blue Iris is a lot cheaper, but every time you put the app on your phone, if it's under a different account, you've got to pay £10 each go, but it's a lot easier to configure. It's quite nice to configure in the phone app. These ones are a little bit more tricky. And if you want to get a full system, just quickly go over this. I got a Reolink, and the main reason I got that because it was reasonably cheap, good quality pictures, camera's all right, metal, all works together. You just click it all together, turn it on, put your application on your PC and application on your phone. Phone just scans a barcode under your NVR, and it all links together and works. But the main reason I got that is because it's one of the cheapest systems you actually get with power over Ethernet. So when you do upgrade, you've already got your cables in place, and you've also got the cables there for the new. Nearly everything's power over an Ethernet. A lot of the cheaper stuff, especially the low end under £500, you're going to be talking using coaxial cable, which isn't going to be very good when you decide to upgrade. You have to lay all your wires again. So that's the main reason I chose Reolink, is because I have the cables in place. The main thing when you're installing the TV cameras, CCTV, which I didn't realise when I first did it, spiders. Yeah, that's what you're going to find out, and that's what I found out straight away at night, spiders. So I tried many different things, putting grease around them. One of the easier things I found is actually turn off the infrared lights, but then obviously, unless you're looking onto a street with light, and you're not going to see anything. So this is what I recommend. If you get the Reolink stuff, get one of these dome cameras. Don't get this one. Basically, the spiders love these little hoods, and so they can actually make a web across your camera. With these ones, there's no really way to latch on, and the only places I've had trouble is when I put it underneath or in the corner and in my garage, and they've sort of like built a web in front of it on the on the side of the garage, and it's like to the wood bit, and it's gone over the camera. But apart from that, when they're just like by themselves on the wall, they don't really get spiders on them. Also, these ones, this is the camera I'd recommend if you're going to upgrade or you're going to buy them. They're quite dear, these, unfortunately, but they're basically working almost no light without the infrared on. So you don't get any spider problems. Even with the infrared on, you're not going to get a lot of spiders because it hasn't got a hood. So you want this type, and if possible, these basically colour view cameras, and they show really good images during the night. I've not got one yet, but I'm about to buy one when I get a little bit of money. This is my setup. I'll quickly go through it because there's some performance tips and information on here. Basically, this is the outside world. I'm on Virgin Media. Basically, there's my little route. We're going on to view Virgin Media, and then that connects to a couple of things in my TV and video recorders and things. And then connected to that, I've got a Tender, basically Nova NW5, and then I've got 3 MW3s. The reason why I've got an MW5 because that one's got a gigabit port going into it. You don't really need gigabit ports coming out of it because obviously you're going 3 to 1 there, so you can if you want, but it's just a cheaper option. I got these off AliExpress. That was £30. I think this was about £70 for 3 of them. One of them is connected to my PC in my office or bedroom, depending where it is. I connect to my box. One of them is in my garage, connected to the 10-port Power over Ethernet router, and that goes to 5 of my cameras. It also goes to my Reolink box, which I've actually got still going because I've not fully decided which bit of software I'm going, and all my family basically have access to it via their phones, so I've just left it going, and it works perfectly in conjunction with this going at the same time. I think that they must sort of like stream video out rather than being requested, so whatever they're streaming out, it doesn't matter how many devices they're sending it to, as long as it's being routed to it. One thing I should mention about this one, remember, is is to set it to bridge mode. That makes it act a bit more like a dumb hub, where it just moves. It basically everything gets its IP address from the main router. It doesn't come as default as that. It'll come up as a router, so it'll have its own network IP address. Now it works most of the time with most things, but 10% of the stuff like printers and also connecting to the Reolink is a little bit more tricky than it would be normally. You have to put the port number in, so it's got more of a chance of finding it rather than just seeing it when you've got the Reolink software on your PC. So if you can set it to bridge mode, so it's basically just a dump, and all these ones will get its IP address from there. If not, that'll have its own IP address like 192.168.5.1. Then all these will have a sub network of that, so they're all basically ending 5.1, and then it could be like 200.196. Sorry, it'd be 192.168.5 and then a number rather than 192.168.0.200. Basically, it's just a different network. Anyway, these are connected to a Power over Ethernet hub. This one I've got is basically a 10-port one. It's got 8 Power over Ethernet ports and just 2 normal ports. Them 2 normal ports connect to the 2 normal ports just connect to my Reolink and my main computer, which I put the CCT software on. These are all 1 gigabit. It's quite important. The only thing you really need the gigabit connection for is this one here, so make sure you've got a Cat6 cable, otherwise it might not work if you bung a Cat5 on it. It's a bit tricky to tell, unless you're into a network monitor and start doing tests. On this one, I needed a gigabit one because when I was running without a gigabit, it was basically about 70% on 5 cameras, so it's pretty much hammering it. When I replaced the cable to a Cat6 one, it kicked in at 1 gigabit because it's got 1 gigabit card in it, and it dropped down to about 7%. So for future proofing, make sure you've got your little Cat6 cables. Going to your cameras, Cat6 cables, not really needed, but you might as well do it. I've had a look around some cameras, and nearly all the cameras, even up to 8K, in fact all of them up to 8K, only have 10 to 100 megabit ports. When you start doing 12K, then they've got basically 1 gigabit ports on them, but you're not really going to go that high. The main reason is because you really want these colour night view cameras, and they're going to be a lot lower res anyway. You're not really going to get an 8K version of that because the pixels will be too small, and basically it'll knacker the image up. It will, as time progresses, get better, as all technology improves, but you're going to be a long way away before you want to really install a 12K camera that's capable of good images at night. Unless that's what you want to do, then obviously upgrade it to make sure you've got a Cat6 so you're future proof. This is the main computer, basically i7 with hyperthreading. You want an i7 if possible. It gives you a 30% boost rather than having an i5, because the hyperthreading gives you 8 processors rather than 4. Well, not true processors, but you can look on a YouTube for video now, hyperthreading works, but it's a lot better. You also want to truly get the 6 series plus. I think they've got some new instructions set in it that some of the new AI uses on some of the CCT software. This cost me about 220 quid for this box. I had to buy some more memory, and I put a 4 terabyte surveillance hard drive in it. That's really important. Make sure you get a surveillance hard drive. They will basically keep your keep it basically keep running. You know what I mean? They're designed to run 24/7 for years. Other ones might get a bit hot in the end and start having problems. And I don't think they have as long as life on the read writes as well. And obviously the software is more designed to actually, as in the firmware on it is more designed to work with surveillance cameras and what they do. It's designed to, write a lot of data and pull off a lot of data simultaneously. Obviously I've got a 1 gigabyte, 1 gigabit network card, 128 gigabyte SSD. You don't really need much more than that. Hard drive, solid state drive, just for the operating system. Like I said, I bought this off eBay for 220 quid. I just got the CPU and 8 gigabyte of memory with that, so I had to put these in extra, the SSD and the 4 terabyte hard drive. I bought a bootable USB from eBay for 15 quid with Windows operating system on it and the serial number. So I just booted off that, installed it on the SSD, and there you go. It only had 8 gigabyte, which I was quite happy with because I wanted 16, but it came with one 8 gigabyte DIMM. And I really wanted to have 2 DIMMs in it, because if you notice when you open the top of a PC, they'll have normally about 4 DIMM slots, and it'll be like one will be black, then it'll be white, then it'll be black, then it'll be white, and that shows you basically so like they have dual band. Basically, it's like driving one car down a dual carriageway. There's no point in doing it. You want to drive 2 cars side by side down it, you get twice as much data. Well, almost, but in theory, it's twice as much. So if you've got 2 chips in, say one chip in each black slot, that'll basically make them work together. It's mainly for video performance, but it does help if there's a lot of stuff in memory. It speeds the memory up by about another 30%, just having it in dual channel format rather than single. 5 CCTVs at 5K, runs about 30% CPU on this, so I've got a lot of overhead for it. No need for an extra graphics card for performance. I probably couldn't have got anything much cheaper. I could have gone for about 150 quid, but for the extra money, I basically future-proofed me there for a good 5 years probably. It should be all right. I don't see any reason I'll need to upgrade this at all. So that's basically the setup done and how it's configured. I can show you a little picture of how my system's configured. It's in its sort of like setup mode at the moment. I've not fully decided where it's going to go. So you see loads of wires there. There's my PC. There's my hub. It's quite a bit of an intelligent one. It's got a special switch on it where you can switch the 8 power over Ethernet ports to not talk to each other, because over in the cameras and it'll just waste data, but you don't really need that. It's probably all right even with them chatting to each other, sending data down them even though it doesn't need it. And I've got 2 just basic Ethernet ports at the end there, which aren't power over Ethernet. These power over Ethernet, nearly all systems, you can plug normal ports in them anyway. That's some sort of wattage I'm using. It tells you on this hub I've got. You can see some are higher than other ones, and that's because some have got LED lights, the infrared lights, and new ones haven't, so they draw more wattage. And that's my little wireless router there. I get about 70 gigabits a second through that, so it's quite good, ample enough to transfer any data outside to my mobile phone or to my other PC. Like I said, the most important thing is having a fast connection between your hub or your cameras going in your PC, because you're only going to be streaming out your PC to anywhere outside on the internet, one video at a time, and that's probably going to be at lower frame rate and lower resolution. You can configure that in your software, but that's what normally happens. Most of the data is going to be coming from all these cameras into here, so you need to make sure you've got 1 gigabit connection. Right, now this is the tricky bit. I want to go over this now, but you don't have to do it, but it makes life a lot easier if you actually understand this. On your computer, you'll have an IP address, which you should sign static if you can. There's lots of videos on YouTube, so you want to, when you set your PC up, you want to put a static IP address on it. Mine's 192.168.100. You'll nearly always be 192.168.0. something, because your hub's going to be .1. But what it does then, it'll assign you an external IP address. Now that's been given from your ISP. Now unless you've got a business account, your external IP address will probably change. Might change once a day, might change once a year, but it will change. So what you can do is set up this DDNS software. Now this is just what I found. I did a search on the internet, I found it, and basically what it does, it links a little bit of software on your computer that tells their computer outside your house, on the web, basically what your IP address is and what's your external IP address is, and then it basically converts that external IP address to a domain name. So and then whenever you want to connect to your computer or via an app or via a web browser or something on another system, wherever you are, you basically just connect to this domain name which you've got of this company. Now it's completely free. This is, I think if you get more than one, it starts costing money, so that's how they make money. I just use it for one, completely free. Don't put any bank details, anything like that, and it's just basically a quick setup. Set your account up and basically go into setup here. That basically, their website, go onto it, set your account up, click on the top menu, click on setup, click on Windows, tells you how to install the software on your computer. Once that's done, it doesn't really tell you after that, but what you do then, top right up here, we'll have a little cog, click on that, or go into control panel, then you click on your DDNS icon. Then once you're in there, you'll basically pick a name for it, so you can call it name, and then you'll have your top level name. So there's about 20 different ones you can pick. So for instance, this one's going to be name@mywired.org. And when you click OK, it'll come up there. It'll also be name.mywired.org, and that's what you connect to get your computer inside your house, which is really useful. Once it's set up, you don't have to bother with that anymore. All done and dusted. Now, the next thing, a lot of the software, when you're connecting from your phone or another computer, you're going to have to basically connect via a port. A lot of the ports are shut off on your router. If you need to log onto your router, you have to look on the internet if you haven't got a Virgin Media one, how to log into it and where to go. But on the Virgin Media ones, basically you want to go into into port forwarding, and basically just put a name in, put the start port, end port, which will be, for instance, for Zenima, it's going to be 8090. We'll go into the start port and end port. Put your IP address up, your static IP address of your server. This is one of the reasons you do need a static IP address. Put your static IP address on the server, leave it TCP UDP, just call it a name so you can identify it, and click OK, and that'll basically open the port from the outside world. So when you connect to this, it'll be like it'll be name.mywired.org : and then your port number. It'll actually work and get through your system when you've been connected to your system. You'll see this bit in the software later on, and I'll show you where it is, where it actually tells you what you need to connect to. But Zenima is going to be that port, 9080, and the other software, which is SiteHound, I think they connect to 8848, and you have to put that on your phone. So basically on your phone, you just copy that, put it in your phone, and in your login ID that you create in the software. The only other thing you have to do is basically your power over Ethernet cameras can change their IP address, which is a right pain. So you basically need to stop that. So there's basically a bit called DHCP reservation inside your router software. You basically need to go to it, pick your camera, then all you do is basically you add the camera, and there's a bottom, I think there's an option down here to save, and it saves it. Then once it's saved it, from the top list, it'll appear in the bottom list, and it'll basically, I've changed mine a little bit, but that's not important. It was camera 2. It was called 02, but I've changed it to C2 to identify it more. But once you've done that, it basically links the MAC address to the port, to the IP address. Now once it's done that, when these cameras start up, as soon as it sees this MAC address comes in asking for an IP address, it'll say you've already got one reserved for you, you're having this IP address. So it'll basically give it an IP address, and then your cameras will always have the same IP address. Otherwise, some software might lose it. But once you've done that, you don't have to worry about that in the future. It's just a useful tip. So that's the setup and configuration. If you've got any questions, you can always put them in the comments, and I can try and do other videos and actually go into more depth. But that's the basic overview. Like I said, it's Only takes a couple of minutes to set these up once you know how, but it's just working out how to do it and knowing what you've got to do. If you can't connect to your computer from your phone, you think, oh my God. Like for some instances, if you've got your phone on and you turn the local Wi-Fi on, it won't connect. So it'll connect and you turn the Wi-Fi off and it starts using your mobile data and it won't connect. And you think, what's going on here? But once you've got these ports open and your IP static and your server has a static name when you've got DDNS set up so you can connect to it from an external IP address and you use that, connect to it, you'll all be fine and it'll work perfect all the time and you can just forget about it then. Right, now onto the software. Like I said, I connect this from my computer upstairs and basically I'll just log onto there's my port number. I've assigned that to my computer, a static IP address. So I'll log onto my computer so I can manage it because it's in the garage. I'm not going downstairs to the garage every time I want to do it. So I'm just use my RTP software to log onto it. So I'm on my computer downstairs in the garage now. I'll leave this on. It's basically free meter, which was another bit of free software. So like gives you the performance of your network card, CPU and stuff like that. I was doing some work on it before, so it's popped up. But you can see on average I'm using about 44% memory and about 36, well maybe 40 CPU on average. But I have got Zenema and Sighthound loaded in the background. First I go over the ones first I'll go over the ones I recommend, but not the best ones. So Zenema, I like Zenema. It's when you first install it, download the software, it actually comes up straight away, and you can actually see all your cameras. It finds them. This is the only bit of software I found that actually finds all your cameras straight away without having to configure anything. They just pop up, and I thought it's amazing, and that's without even installing it. Then there's an option to install it. Someone coming to the house. There's an option to install it on your computer, and it just installs it and carries on working as if it's still running off the install program. It's really weird and clever how they've done it. There's some friends from down the road who come in to see the dog and give it some biscuits at the side of the house. Anyway, so you can see Zenema's working there okay. The good thing I like about this is its configurability. You can click on the configure icon and it shows you what you've configured. So basically I've got a camera. If I've got a problem with the camera, it'll email me. There's a time it's going to record. It's going to motion detect someone, and if it motion detects someone, it'll go to the next box and then object detect something. Sorry, and then it'll record. So each of these boxes do different. That's the IP address of the camera. It's already auto found for me. Click on that one. There's a time and date you want it to record. There's the motion. Good thing about this motion, it actually tells you what its current level is. So if things are moving around, it's going to be triggered. You see it'll skip. So basically when it says skipping, it means it's going to skip this box and move on to the next box. If I put the sensitivity really high, it's not going to skip this box, so it's not going to move over to the next one. So it'll stay there. It'll basically stay there and not skip until it gets something a bit more prevalent on the screen, and then it'll go over to the object detection. Probably don't need this, but I've just been playing around with it. And then you can set the size of your object, and then it'll basically skip or not skip this depending on how big the object is. And then at the end of it, it'll record, tell it where you want to record. And you've got lots of options there about record, how much space you want to take up, how much you want to days worth you want to save, and all things like that. And if you want to save for group options, you can click here and you can select the cameras, and you can basically save everything for each camera, so it's nice and quick. So cancel that one. Go back to the main view. Actually, no, go back onto one. But then these are all the extra modules you can have. Now they all cost different sorts of money. You can get a normal version, a pro version, a free version where you get 2 free cameras and with no alerting. The standard version, the pro version. For instance, they're grayed out, so they're on the pro version. So for instance, say I want to add a new filter. Say I want to add, say, you can do object tracking. Say I want to add object recognition. What I can do, it doesn't work all the time, it's a bit funny this. I'll put it in there, always works. Normally it puts it over there, I have to drag it back over there, and then I've got an extra step in it, but then I can get rid of that one, get rid of that one, delete them, and then I've just got one object recognition into it, so I can say just alert on humans, click OK. Unfortunately this one is a paid extra. Now this one's about £200 per camera, and if I was going to use this software I would not pay for this. It's not that good at the moment. It's nowhere near as good as the other ones, and for the price of it, it's a bit dear. I would just use it as a standard motion detector. And one good thing about this one, if you've got like a tracking camera, you can actually I think they're called PTZs or something, where you can move it left and right. You can actually, with the standard version, I think you've got an option to auto track. So if it sees an object, and even without this, if it sees an object, it will basically track the object. But there's lots of different things you can put in there. It's really, really good and very configurable. Here's some examples. So for examples, if I pick a complicated one, I'll wait a sec. Yeah. Yeah, unfortunately, when you do that, it gives you a random picture of somewhere. It's just sort of like a sample that put these on, so I can basically go into these and bin these. But as you can see, it's pretty fast and it's really neat the way it works. But if you're just going to use standard triggering, this is good. Anyway, I'll move. I said before I do that, you've also got remote access. So remote access, they offer a repeater setup. This is the thing I showed you before about that website where you put your domain in. Now these charge £5 a month to set up a repeater site, so it always connects to your external IP address. No point in doing that when you can just do it for free and it's set up for life. So you don't really want to do that. Connect with user password. Basically, there's the users have set up. I can't remember how I did this. Remote access. Here we go. Users. Repeater setup. That's all I did. There we go. Users. There we go. And they're the two users have set up. Basically, when you connect to it, you just connect to the IP address of the server and the port number. I can't remember where I got the port number information from. It must be in the setup of one of their menus somewhere. But you can add extra roles, and when you add a role, you just put your password in. When you connect to it, it basically connects to the password. So it doesn't matter what you call anything, it goes off the password. So it won't let you set up two users called test because they've got, you won't let you set up two users with the same password, because when you log in, you don't put a user in, you just put your password, and then you can configure each user depending on what you want to do. So that one's a bit different because it's not the administrator. You can tell it what to do. So it's pretty impressive. I think it's on the software when you install it on your phone, tells you how to connect, tells you what to do, and then all you've got to do is basically decide what user and what rights you can get. But like I said, without that static IP address or domain name, you're going to have trouble in a couple of months when something reboots or the service provider decides to give you a different name. So that's Zenimir, really good, quite like it. Next one, probably a lot of you heard about Blue Iris. Now you notice when I keep Blue Iris off, the CPU will go up because it's not already running in the background. I've got a year plan on this Blue Iris for updates. I've had to add all these in manually. To add a camera, basically you go add a new camera, call it a camera, and then you basically got to find the camera, give it a password. There's all my cameras there, you'll find them. And you click OK and it adds it. You can change which ones it was. It won't work with my Reolink. I had to put to the generic. If I was to change it to Reolink, it didn't really work. So generic worked fine. I had to make sure the username was admin with no password and it connected to it just fine. Didn't really have any troubles. This has got lots of options all over the place. You've got your triggers, alerts, recordings. So motion triggers, you can configure that, what size object. Then you can configure object size to ignore, if you want to ignore cars, over a certain size, and then you can basically change a different type of detection. I think that one uses the most CPU, but it's basically the most accurate. When you there's an option there for use zone hotspots. I can't remember that is. Let's just go into another one. So camera settings, triggers. You've also got artificial intelligence on this, but the trouble is you have to pay for these. They are planning to put a built-in version themselves, but you can actually pay for it. So it connects to a server, and they'll basically help you identify if it's a person or not. Camera groups, you can have multiple camera groups. So this is I can't remember what it is now. So many different softwares I've used. Motion detection. Oh, here we go. So this is where you can set up where to record or not. So what you could do on this one, for instance, you can actually, you've got different zones. So if I invert that and set up where I want to brush a bit bigger, I can basically set up my brush where to trigger. Yeah, on this zone, and then you can configure another zone, zone B. Yeah, and put it there. And then once you've done that, you can basically, once you've got two zones, you can set that for your camera, so it's all done. When it comes to triggering, you can basically, I forgot what it is now. Is it alerts? Oh yeah, when a camera is triggered, I can't remember what it is, but basically you can, I said it's got loads of options. You can basically trigger it when the zone moves from one zone to another zone, but because I didn't set up, I probably haven't got the option. But yeah, you can basically say when an object in this zone moves to the other zone, which you just configured in here, then alert. So you can have multiple cameras all with the same feed. It doesn't use any more bandwidth, but all with different configurations. So you can have 8 cameras set up just for one physical camera, and each one can have different alerts. You can have moving from one zone to another. You can have one where it's just monitoring the pathway. Then you can basically set when it records, where it records to. You always want to make sure it's direct to disk, saves on CPU. The alerts, where it's going to alert. The actual software on this for your camera setup is dead easy. Basically, all you do is fire up the software on your phone, give it the IP address of your server, and it'll just find it and it'll configure everything yourself. And that's a good thing about this. Is probably why they charge £10 for the software as well. You don't have to worry about setting your external IP address, so you can always contact it. It basically it knows, it basically talks to its external server and configures it for you, and always keeps it updated. So when you're on your app on your phone, it basically always knows where your system is and your IP addresses of it and can connect to it. You don't even have to open any ports. Mine just works straight away, so that was really good. Lots of different options. You've got the main settings options here when you can configure everything, a joystick, the emails, FTP servers. On your alerts as well, there's lots of different alert settings. On alert, add that, and you get hundreds of things there. FTPs, run programs, do command, make a sound, push notification. Once you've connected, you've got all these little useful things up here as well. Your stats that gives you information about your discs and your cameras that you've got connected, and motion settings, motion triggers and things like that. So it's all quite nice. Really good bit of software for 60 quid. It's not bad. And this is my favourite one. This is one I'm still got a demo version, but I'm probably going to buy. Is this Sighthound? It's running in the background still. You'll notice my CPU went up there because I basically had 3 programs running. Then I had Sighthound, I've got Zenima going in the background. And now and basically I have Blue Iris then. So you see my resource meter there. And look at the CPU. When it decides to come up. There we go. see which CPU bits are using the CPU. You know, you've got a site on there. You should have Zenima. Zenima there is using a bit of CPU up as well because it must have detected something, so it's starting hammering it a little bit. So memory, like I said, memory's up because I'm using more programs. I will do 8 gig would probably do on this, but 16. Like I said, I wanted dual channel working okay. And network's dead low. Used to be dead high until I switched over to Cat6 cable and Cat6 cable and 6 cable and it kicked into 1 gigabit. Now this is the thing I really like. Basically, I'll show you to add a new camera. So it's basically tools, add a camera. Basically, just other manufacturer. It hasn't got an option for ear link in here. Just do next again, and it'll give you a list of cameras. You can show all the cameras that it's connected. Basically, you just pick one of them. Username is always admin on the Rio link, with no password, and then probably won't connect to it now because I've already connected to one, so I'll cancel that. So, and it basically just shows you the picture to confirm you can see it, and then you're done. To remote connect on this, you basically go into options, a couple of options here. Basically, I join clips together so they're all one continuous one. If it triggers in between, I think I might knock my camera up doing that. Anyway, oh no, I think it's still. I'll look anyway in a second. So, and then I've got your storage, basically how much storage you want to use, how long to keep the temporary files, because it creates temporary files and normal files. It only records this when it gets triggered, which is a bit of a pain if you want it fully recording, but it's so good at triggering it doesn't really matter. How are you going to set your grid up? You know, your cameras you're going to see. Remote access, there it'll tell you the port number I told you before. You can set your login and password. Here it'll tell you basically your external IP address. You've also got a local IP address. You can click on that if you want to connect it via. Oh, actually, use that one. Details. Go to the website. I'll put my username and password in there, and basically it'll just take me to a web version of this, which is really cool. Back on there. So that's how you set up your remote access. When you get your bit of software on your phone, you just basically put that IP address in, but you'll be using hopefully that, what's the name, that DDNS I've set up, and your port number, and then your login ID and name, and it'll basically connect to it, and you'll be up and going. Don't forget, make sure you got your port open on your router. Then once you've done this, you can basically, you'll start off with a basic one here. See if we've got one that's not been changed. Oh, I've done it on all of them, but this is what I do for my front drive anyway. I've been playing around one, but basically I've set to, you can set as many of these rules up as you want, but this is the one I first set up. So basically I've set up a rule, and this is dead easy to configure this. So actually no, I don't want the driveway, that's why I've done that one. I want to do the front garden. So people in the front garden. So I've added this rule, and basically what it's going to do is going to be a camera. If it sees people in the front garden that are inside this area, then it's going to save to my hard drive, and it's going to send me an alert on my mobile application. You can configure email, you can configure that IFTTT, which I've done, which is dead easy. They've actually got an IFTTT SiteHound application, and all you do is basically put your username and password in, click on it, and it basically, and tell it to send an alert or an SMS message or an email, or even connect to a light inside your house, and it can basically alert through IFTTT and basically turn lights on in your house. Really, really impressive. I'll show you what I've got here actually on it if I can log in. I don't know if I've got it set up to log in. Oh, that's my SiteHound stuff. What's that? Oh, IFTT. There we go, there's my upload. Basically, if new people in the garden, then send a notification to my IFTTT app. But you can change that to turn your light on or whatever you want. Really good. So basically, I only get notified if someone enters my drive, and it's really good at doing detection for people and animals. It sometimes gets it wrong at night with especially on this one here, when I'm getting lots of reflection on the cars. That's why I've not put detect. I say I've got detect people, but I'm probably going to change that or do some sort of like tweaking with it. But on this one, you know, when people are on it, picks people walking over there, it picks people up on bikes, picks up dogs and things like that, and cats walking around. Really impressive, the actual thing on this. And then I've got this set up on all this one will do is save. So if I get someone walking around there, going to my rules again, basically anyone in that area at the top there, any objects up there, so cars and things like that, inside this region. You can also do different things like you can cross a boundary. Now this is really good. I mean, it's so easy to set up compared to the other one on Blue Iris. You can just put a boundary there. Either way, if you come backwards and forwards over that boundary, any object, it'll click. It's really impressive. You've also got same as Blue Iris, you know, how long you've been visible for. Same as the other one as well. You know, if someone's visible, they all do this. Apart from the cheap NVRs, that Reolink doesn't do this. If some invisibles longer than 1 second, it'll kick in, which is useful if like little flies flying around or it's raining. It reduces the chance that's going to kick something off. So that boundary one's really good. Really easy configuration to configure. You can also put the size of the objects as well. You know, I mean, it's not dead configurable. You've only got certain options, but it's pretty much going to be okay. And you can do that for each camera, so you can have loads of different, like you can have it. Like I said, it doesn't record all the time. So this one, basically on the road, anything on the road, it's gonna record and save. I could set up another one up, so it record and save. It saved anything on the driveway that was an animal or any object. So I've got recording everything, or I could just change that road to everything, so it records everything in there. If you do search, these are things that it kicked off. It found people. If I click on it, it showed them people that visited my house earlier today. If I just play that, you see it's picked up people over there. Flipping amazing for the price of that, and how it actually finds people. It's really, really good. I'm surprised this isn't more popular. I really am. It's like, you know what I mean? It just finds people. It knows who they are. You know what I mean? Picks them up and stops having loads of false alerts. One thing I found though, I thought this would be really good, not having loads of false alerts. But the amount of people come to your house, I'm getting alerted all the time anyway. So, you know what I mean? It's the way it is. So if I do animals, I'll see if I can find any animals. It's not the best at picking animals up. It's not bad. I'll probably find my dog. Oh, there's my dog. See if it's found it. Oh, there we go. It's found a little dog in the corner there. Don't know what it's doing. But yeah, same way it's found, you know what I mean? It's only moved a little bit and it's realised it's an animal. Really, really impressive. This is my pick of the bunch. If you're going to pick one, I will go for this. It's a little bit dear. I'm going to upgrade mine. You can test it for a couple of weeks. Really, really good. And the last thing I'll show you is if you want an NVR. Like I said, an NVR is really good because you can get, if you buy the right ones, you can get all your cables in place, and if you're tired to upgrade, you can do that at a later date. Getting something like this working is quite dear when you've got to get the P and a lot of hassle when you've got to get the PC itself, the hard drives, extra memory, make sure it's powerful enough. Or but you know your software and you know your license for Windows, and you've got to have it sat in quite a big unit sat in your garage or wherever you're going to put it, and it's the extra wattage. It's going to take a lot more power up. So there's lots of pros and cons about having your PC, but this is what I would recommend to get. Like I said before, is the Reolink. Now I've still got this going. It's still linked into all my cameras. Comes up really fast. Going with CCTV, where's it gone now? Live view. You've got playback as normal. And the playback on the PC on this is a bit flaky. It's a bit funny the way it works. I've never really got a grips of it, you know what I mean? It's going to my live view again. But on the phone it's really good because you can select an option when you play back, just show clips when it was triggered, so you can scan through them really fast. So I've gone with CCTV, gone with cameras, settings there, pick what you want. There we go, they're all popping up. Lots of configurations. So I've actually got them configured on the NVR, and I've also got some configured separately. If you go into the separately configured ones, you can have things like performance. You can actually see what the camera's doing itself on performance. If you go into the NVR itself, the NVR's got the 5 cameras connected. You go into that, you won't have performance. You'll have different things. Like on this one, I've set this one to a static IP address. Set everything static IP addresses. A bit harder to do, but in the long run, a lot simple. No, it's got its static DNS server. It's actually router. Nearly always is 192.168.0.1. And you can configure loads of different things in a really good quality on this Reolink for what it is. And you've got your advanced or your basic settings where you can set your quality, and if you've got LEDs come on, or your infrared LEDs come on at night. You've got there your resolution, frame size, everything like that. So I'm going to playback. See if you get one playing back. I normally just do my phone because it's a lot easier. So you can do fluent clear. That's what you've got to do. Remember now, you've got to click a camera. There you go. Now I've clicked my camera. It should come up. I've got press play. I can't remember it. Live view. It does work, and it works okay. But like I said, mobile phone a lot better to view it. One more last go. It's logged in because I might be on the wrong time here. That's what I mean. It's really tricky to scroll through your times and stuff. It might be at a time where it's not actually played. Oh, there we go. I've got to do a window 1 camera. Where we go? Is he going to get it? Play. Let's choose a date. Oh, anyway, try and get it going. What I have done is first I've not been able to get it going, but I'm not going to waste a lot of time trying to get it going there. Yeah, general Reolink, really good. Really impressed. Applications free on all your phones. And that's about it really. So choose what you think is best for yourself. Like I said, I thought that was best for me. Any questions, put in the comments and I can do extra videos if you need more information. Thank you. Bye-bye.